Today marks day 8 in the search for missing University of Florida student Christian Aguilar, and although no new evidence has surfaced, a major development in the case has. Once every 11 months, that's how many times the state's gun owners have to go to anger management if they want to buy ammunition. Officials say to avoid skimming, when you put your card into the ATM, make sure nothing is loose. Those devices are what skimmers use to read your information later. Now to see just how hot a car can get being left out in the sun while pet owners run in for a quick errand, we left this thermometer in the car at 95 degrees, came back 15 minutes later, and it's basically at 120 degrees. Now, there are still oyster beds here in Cedar Key that are healthy and blooming, but they are too close to the coast like the one behind me, and they cannot be harvested. Amanda, we spent the afternoon walking around Lincoln Estates with Mayor-elect Ed Brady and Gainesville's police chief. Brady says although the election is over, he wants those in East Gainesville to know he's on their side, and he will be for the next 3 years. And they say although they love the sunshine and the warm weather, they are happy to go without leaving too much trouble behind them. Live from the Alachua County Sheriff's Office, Catherine Awasti, GTN News. Domestic abuse is a well-kept secret in many households. But the tables are turning on who the victim is.
Hitting me and choking me with my own collar, and I had to fight back.
Fighting back for a year and a half.
We broke everything in that house. The bookshelf, the bureau, the lamp. We threw everything at each other.
Which isn't something we normally hear from people like Chastity Rose.
He did try to kill me a couple times. I mean, mostly by choking. He never threatened me with a knife. You know, at times though, like I didn't feel comfortable sleeping next to him without having one underneath my pillow, which I still do to this day. You know, I can't trust anyone.
Anyone but himself.
Unfortunately, because of the stigma that often surrounds homosexual relationships, we don't get the information on the rates of domestic violence as it occurs.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice, women in a same-sex partnership experience almost a 20% higher rate of domestic and sexual assault than women in an opposite-sex relationship, and for men, about 15% higher.
Our entire lives, we had to fight just to be who we are in society. We don't rely on other people.
Other people like law enforcement, who Rose felt didn't give him the time of day when he needed it.
I guess maybe he looked at us and goes, well, this is two fags, whatever.
Which is why Peaceful Paths is currently trying to make sure victims like Rose know they are there to help them, regardless of their sexual preference.
Definitely an issue around the relationship and outing the relationship that may prevent them from coming to the Center for Services.
Currently, there is no support group for the LGBT in Gainesville because there's not enough people asking for it.
Society will tell us that, you know, we're dirty or disgusting or unworthy of love or help or assistance. And I know there's organizations out there that strive to help people that have been in a situation like I've been. But it doesn't mean that we'll trust them. It doesn't mean that we can think in our minds that they actually can do anything to actually help us.
The gay community hopes that domestic abuse services continue to grow. They also hope that when they do ask for help, they're taken seriously. Catherine Awasti, GTN News. Today marks day 8 in the search for missing University of Florida student Christian Aguilar, and although no new evidence has surfaced, a major development in the case has. Only minutes after the Aguilars heard the news, it was released to the public.
The Gainesville Police Department has charged Pedro Bravo with the murder of Christian Aguilar.
A decision that came with no announcement of any new evidence.
The body of Christian Aguilar has not yet been recovered.
A few days ago, police said they discovered Bravo had purchased a shovel and a roll of duct tape. That information led Carlos Aguilar to have a change of heart.
We have to start thinking the worst.
And investigators are hoping neighbors start paying close attention to small details.
We would also encourage property owners, residential or business, who may have lime rock roads on their property that were accessible to the general public, to search those properties for any suspicious areas of ground that appear to have been disturbed.
The Aguilars were not there when the announcement was made, but Bravo's purchases did stir up some suspicion days before.
He killed my son.
Investigators say Bravo was the last person to see the 18-year-old alive.
We are also requesting information from anyone who may have seen a suspicious vehicle likened to a blue Chevy Blazer in any remote areas on the night of Thursday, September 20th.
Gainesville police say finding Aguilar is the most important thing at this point. They hope volunteers do not see this as a sign to give up on continuing to search for Aguilar. The first appearance is set for Pedro Bravo tomorrow at 9 a.m. Catherine Wasti, GTN News. 3 weeks after Tropical Storm Debbie devastated the city of Live Oak, cleanup and restoration is underway. Just inside the downtown Live Oak area is Friar J. Sherman & Associates, Tim Alcorn's surveying business that is working hard to recover their losses.
You know, this is probably the worst thing we've had in a long time.
But he says it could have been worse. Just across U.S. Highway 90, a not-so-lucky strip of businesses have been condemned due to a sinkhole made worse by the floodwaters.
I feel lucky being on the north side of US 90. They seem to think it's all contained on the south side of US 90.
And Alcorn isn't the only one beginning to pick up the pieces to rebuild. Today was day one of disaster debris removal. Large piles of debris like these left from the storm stretch throughout Live Oak. It's the beginning steps of a long-term cleanup plan. But only time and money will tell if the city will ever recover completely.
When I was around in the city, it was just surreal. You know, you just couldn't believe what the devastation that it did to our town.
And Live Oak will need as much financial help as they can get in order to get back on their feet.
We just need some help as far as assistance, and hopefully those dollars will come.
And while the city waits to initiate a long-term recovery plan, Alcorn is glad to see cleanup efforts have finally begun.
It's bad enough to come home and your house has been flooded, but then to come home every day or come to work and you see all your stuff laying out there in the street still, it's got to be depressing. It's got to be depressing.
He says you can't totally prepare for something like this, but hopes today's long-term redevelopment plan will help residents in planning for the future. Catherine Awasti, WUFT News.